All right, Chiso, do you want to? You must have questions, even though I think you started a bit late, but at least you've been getting your materials. What do you think about them? What has anything struck you? What would you like? What clarifications would you like to make? What specific, questions would you like to bring up? If you can help us start, I would be grateful.
Okay, sir. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, whatever part of the world you are logging in from. Thank you, sir. Thank you, and I'm sure you understand why I'm saying thank you. You've been so patient. Yes, I've been be far behind, but at least a few have started. Honestly, for those that have not started, just take my word for it. Just start. Just start. I'm saying that because I should have been days ahead, but I had some challenges, so I couldn't log on. But when I started in this past couple of days, you just won't want to log off really. Sometimes I see myself like I'm copying notes, like I'm writing, I'm repeating. A 30-minute video is turned into like an hour plus for me. But that by the side, um, there's just so much, there's just so much to grasp from everything you're saying. But what comes to my mind, what really came to my mind in one of the videos now, what I wanted to ask, but I wanted to just wait to the very end. Um, is a part where saying that, so for example, you're a disciplined person and maybe you might not be, there's some other attributes you might lack. So for, I know specifically you talked about you can be disciplined and maybe you're not very patient. Now I know I'm jumping the gun because I've not gone too far,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to know how would that come about? What are the processes that person will go through? And I'm saying that because I know that I need it personally. So that's why I was going to wait to the very end. But now you gave me the floor. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going too far, but really, how would that person end up? Because
Okay,
because
so
I need it. Thank you.
the point that I take it that you're making is that it is possible for you to be disciplined. Some people are very disciplined. It's easier for them to be, you know, to to walk certain fine lines um, than some others, and that if you are one of if you are that kind of person, yes, you may be disciplined, but the fact that you are disciplined doesn't mean that you are patient, for example. And some people are very patient, but they are not disciplined. Okay? Um, but, both attributes are important if you want to be a smart leader. Okay? You must be disciplined, but at the same time, patience is crucial. And I think in one of the classes, I speak elaborately about the place of patience, why it is so crucial. In fact, I think in two different instances, of course, you haven't got there. I You then speak of the concept of forbearance as a leader, which is basically talking about showing understanding and the fact that, look, you are superintending over people who are on a transformation journey with you. So if that is the case, are you expecting that they will make mistakes? And if they make mistakes, are you going to beat them over the head? It shouldn't be something that you should be worried about if they don't make mistakes, because that may mean that you're not getting, through to them. So if you begin to talk about filling up the gap, because yes, you are disciplined, and that should be one of your core, offerings to your people. It's if you are disciplined. If I'm following a disciplined leader, it would be a shame, after working with that leader for a while, not to become disciplined myself, because that's what the leader has, to offer. But the leader also, and this has to be the case, yes, you can have a strong point as a leader, but you need to develop yourself in other areas, so that wholesomely, you have a more robust character, you are capable in more areas than one. Nobody just, keeps to his or her area of strength, choosing to ignore other areas of weakness because it's going to cost you down the line. There's a point in the video much later, in fact, I think maybe about the 15th, day, where I talk about why you must deal with certain attributes if you don't want your work as the leader, to be in vain. No matter what happens, what you accomplish in the people, there are things you must take note of. So it is something like, that patience, not having patience yet you are disciplined. One day, something is going to happen that your lack of discipline will compromise the entire accomplishment, you know, your lack of patience will undermine everything you have achieved um, in the area of discipline, on those who follow you. So you can see that starting from where you are today, or at the early stages, you are talking about getting to know yourself and your gift. Okay, we're settling the way the program has been structured. We're settling the issues one by one. If you took notice of the each day, in the short uh, series of of slides that were running while I was speaking, every day's message raises an issue and ties it into the next. So you see, like, we are telling a story from where do you begin, all right, in your journey to developing leadership competence and to becoming, a smart leader. And how do you get to that point, all right? So one thing leads to the other. I think that should give you some understanding. Surely you need to look forward to more, the videos that will follow over the course of, the remaining days, as you rightly observed. And you're going to get to the point where the specific issues that you have raised, are addressed. Um, but I think these few remarks will prepare you. They will give you an idea. They'll point you in the likely direction, that will be following, but at a more appropriate time. If that question has not been answered in the video, then I'll be able to drill down um, into greater detail to link up um, the dots, as it were. I don't know if that helps. Does that help, Chiso?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Uh, all right. Anything more? What day are you? You are supposed to have been. You are supposed to have been like on the 8 or 9, if I remember correctly, or between 7 and 9. But yes, you did say that there were some issues and you couldn't.
Don't
You
worry, sir.
couldn't
Watch
come.
your space. Just
Yeah, but
I'm
I've been
ready.
seeing your assignments, and I know you are making good progress. Kudos, well done. Let me welcome Dolapo. Dolapo, it's good to see you on the platform. You are welcome.
Good evening, sir. Good evening,
Uh,
everyone.
Good evening. How are you today? You are welcome.
Very welcome.
So I hope your trip was good. Are you back? Hello.
Yes, I am. Yes, it was good. It was good.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
great.
Okay.
So, any questions for me?
So I'm quite far behind. I started looking. I think I just finished my day 5 and I'm in day 6. But I've been
Wow.
writing a
And
lot
oh,
for questions
is that?
to ask myself. Yes.
Oh, to ask yourself,
Yes. So
not
a
to
lot on
ask, not to
introspection.
ask me.
I think it will come to asking you at some point, but I think that a lot of the questions are around asking myself. But I think one thing that was a question that I noted, if I remember, is okay. Let me just check my notes.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm taking the class so far back, so I don't know if it helps.
No,
But
no, no, no. You are not. You are not taking the class any far back. The way this
okay.
session runs is that
Oh,
everyone is on a different day. You know, the
okay,
way the program
okay.
is structured. If somebody started yesterday, that person is just day one. So, but
Yes.
you know, we all come to the same live session. Since if you are not there yet, you will be there.
Mm,
I mean, the person who is day one will be there someday. We'll be
someday.
on day five.
Mm,
Someday we'll be on day
mm,
12. So it's good
okay.
to have that kind of interaction. Yeah. So
Okay. Okay.
everybody on the program can attend. The Saturday, this session on Saturday. So you're not
All
you're
right.
not dragging us behind. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So my question was because day five was talking about making yourself known.
Yes.
Um, and my question was, what's the balance between you talk about a lot about blowing your trumpet, the I am principle, you
Correct.
know, and how do you create a balance between that and self
Right.
delusion,
Right.
and the I
Or
am
or
principle? So
deceiving yourself.
we yes,
Yeah.
sometimes people may say that they are this, but they
Yes.
are actually deluding themselves, and
Correct.
even their followers sometimes even know,
Yeah.
can sense that
Which
they're deluding themselves.
which is
So,
unfortunate.
I asked exactly. So I wrote that question and I said to myself that I think before you even come to the I am to say that
Mm.
this is who I am,
Mm.
it must be a product of deep introspection, and you must be very honest with yourself,
Yeah.
you know, to come
Yes.
out to say that, because it must be revealed to you if you use the way you use the example of Christ,
Yes.
so it must be something of deep introspection and probably your experience before you come out to say this is who you are. So I think that's where I was because there's a place of self-delusion where you may think you
Yes.
are there but you are not there, and
Yeah.
you are declaring and pronouncing. So that
Yes.
was my question.
I, you know, I really, I mean, you've virtually made my day. You guys have made my day in two distinct respects. First, I think you were just joining Dolapo when Chiso raised her, made a few remarks and raised her own question. And one of the things that Chiso did say was that, she was doing a lot of writing, that she was taking an hour on a video that is 30 minutes, because she found that there's so many things that she has to take note of. And you are putting it, a bit differently, that, hey, as I'm listening, I'm asking myself questions, I'm working on myself, I'm trying to situate where am I, in the scheme of things. What are the things I need to do? What are the things I need to take note of? And that's precisely how you unlock the value in the things that you're hearing. That's why we gave those assignments. That's why we said, look, you should have a personal change plan in view, because your answers to those issues will point out the areas where you need to focus on. And the truth is that as you focus on them, you are also noting the things that you need to do, all right, to redress them if there are shortcomings, to build up on them if there are areas of strength. That's how to get the value from, this program. And I'm humbled, quite frankly, and I'm pretty, I'm excited at the fact that um, at the fact that at the kinds of feedbacks that we are getting. Now, this is okay. So this is um, uh, that's why you notice that the first video was on knowing yourself and your gift. That's why we are starting from there. That it is you, the one who is to do leadership, the one who is to buid leadership capacity, or desires to be a smart leader, has to focus on, do I have what it takes? What really am I going to be offering? What is this thing really about? So you find that we're actually provoking very deep thoughts. We are questioning whether, in fact, without being elaborate about it, are you qualified to be a leader? Really? Because the implication, and I mean, what you have said is, look, first of all, let's agree. Dolapo, let's agree, the class, that who are you? What are you projecting to your people? Because this relationship, the leader-follower relationship, is about, this is what I have to offer as a leader. And you're expecting the follower to embrace it. If the follower doesn't embrace whatever value you have to offer, you are limited in your ability to influence them. And therefore, your job as a leader cannot be done, at least as far as that person is concerned. So, but the best way to ensure that the follower easily embraces you is for you to hold out who you truly are. Now, not who you think that the follower will be excited to embrace, because that may not be who you are. So you create a credibility problem for yourself when you don't know who you truly are, but you are projecting something else, or at least so you think. But the one who is looking at you is seeing something other than what you are projecting. And that person comes to the conclusion that this woman or this man is not serious. This woman is saying things, is saying, I am a disciplined person. But let's look at it. She's always coming late to meetings. She always has one reason to come late to work. Even she will be shouting us down, obey policy, don't do this. But look at examples of what she does. Okay? Now, so you are right. If you must truly know yourself, you must do a lot of self-introspection. You must take the time to learn, and we have given one way of helping you to beam that searchlight on yourself. That you are not looking for so many things, quite frankly. What you are looking for is first and foremost, and I said it, I think, in response to some of the assignments that were submitted. I responded, I said, can you narrow down by just describing 2 or 3 key attributes, maximum of 3, that defines you at your core? That if I were to ask people that you have interacted with, around you, they would agree. If I ask them, mention 2 things about Dolapo that strike you, it must be the same thing that you believe. If you are claiming something, and I ask 2, 3 people that work closely with you, and they are saying something that does not coincide with what you are saying, there is a problem. There is an identity gap, and you must close it. And if that happens, the chances are that you have been projecting yourself to be what you are not. And therein lies a leadership crisis. Because how do I, as a follower, commit to you when I can't, when I'm having difficulty placing you? And that's a challenge that leaders must be conscious of. That's, you if you operate like that, it's you putting up such a an obstacle on your own way, in your quest to do leadership right. That is you who um, is making leadership more difficult for yourself. So it's better to do the hard work of knowing yourself, so that, and you see, leadership is about leveraging who you are, not who you are not. Okay? It's about taking cognizance of who you are and anchoring your approach to leadership on what you bring to the table, not what you don't have, not what you don't bring to the table. Because, as people often say, you can't give what you don't have. But a leadership is a promise that if you walk with me, this is what you are going to get. It can't be hazy. You are, like we said, repeatedly, you are dealing, leadership is heavy because the lives of people are involved. That's the aspect that many people don't understand. Lives are involved. What you do or do not do has implications for the lives of those people that you are leading, if not today, sometime tomorrow. So it's a weighty responsibility from that point of view. So again, it's important. Don't, if you delude yourself claiming what you are not, it will show up in how ineffective you would be as a leader. Ultimately, the people can pretend behind you, but they see you as a caricature. You're just ridiculing yourself. And people can follow you and not follow you, in quotes. Yes, they are with you. I'm in your department because I have to be. I haven't found any better place to go. But, am I committed to helping you, to working with you, to achieving, our set objectives? No, you won't. You don't have my full commitment. Why? In part because I can't even trust you. Somewhere down the line, I'm going to be talking about, I don't know, maybe that's around date 9 or 10 or thereabout. I'm going to be talking about the issue of trust. And then after trust, I will be talking about the issue of respect, because they are two different things, but they are very closely knit, and you need to understand the relationship between them and what it means for that assignment. That's one junction that if you don't cross it until you cross that juncture, um, you are not likely to enjoy leadership. The person will be struggling, and the person will be using a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of power in order to get things done. And that shouldn't be the case for much of um, your work with your people. That shouldn't be the case. So yes, you are right. You need to do that self-introspection. If you don't, you can't lead authentic. You will come across as a hypocrite, as a fake. And I think you were at the session on Haunted by Hypocrisy, so you have a deep knowledge of of what I'm saying in that regard.
Thank you, sir. So, something that also struck me with this is, the need for feedback. And I don't know if, maybe some way that you could help us is with maybe some kind of feedback, way of getting feedback. And I think it's really key. In these climes, when you reach a certain level, you don't like to get feedback on yourself. There's something that
That's
I once
because
spoke to a coach who
that's
was telling me
because
something about some.
that's because the person is not matured.
Well, well,
When
yeah,
you
of
can't
course,
receive feedback, you are not matured. It's as simple as that. Because,
yeah.
a matured leader understands the whole thing about feedback. The understands, for example, at the very basic level, that feedback is tough. Okay, feedback is tough, but has developed the capacity to embrace it. you know so please go ahead. I'm sorry, I
So, so,
interjected. I
so I,
wanted to rest that matter there. Yes.
but I think that
So how do you
what I
handle
was trying
feedback?
to ask for, how do you, no, not, no, no, not handling
How do you
feedback.
get it?
How do you even get it? How do
Yes.
you get that feedback in a formal way? We deal with different people of different generations.
Yes.
So, and honestly, I don't have any problem with feedback, however way it comes, as long as we
Yeah.
get the best out of it. But I
Correct.
think getting feedback from bottom up
Yes.
is very important, very, very
Yes.
important if you're in a leadership position. And I think it'd be helpful if you can tell us practical ways you can get feedback. Even like, an example of a feedback form that, as a CEO, for example, you will get from your people, your downliners, and this is specifically on
Hmm.
if they are following your leadership, if
Yes.
they understand it, if they have that understanding, as you say,
Yes.
in the five.
Yes.
So that was also something that I was thinking about.
Yes. Okay. Now, first of all, before you start asking for feedback, it will help you to be conscious of your approach to leadership. And I like the fact that you emphasize that now the feedback is not just on anything. The feedback is on the way that the kind of leadership that you are provide. The question is, how do I give you feedback if I don't know the kind of leadership, your approach to leadership? So you would see that there are days where, in fact, a lot of what we are talking about addresses what your approach should be to leadership. One of it is the point that you even made, saying, this is who I am. I am this. The idea of I am is not for you to boast. The idea of I am is to, and I really want us to get this, is to hold yourself accountable. Is because when I say I am, I'm not boasting. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to focus your attention on what I have to offer you, on what you stand to gain from me, on what I want to transfer to you of the areas of my strength. Okay? When I say that this is who I am making you a promise that this is what I am working towards achieving in your walk with me. And therefore, I am holding myself accountable to you because I expect that someday, and this is where the issue of feedback will come in. I want to be, you put me to task to justify whether I have delivered on my I am. You understand? So you first of all run into challenges trying to elicit feedback when your approach to leadership is hazy, is not clear. And this is part of how this program has been structured, so that you have clarity on how you are doing leadership. And you are so clear that you know what you intend to deliver. You are so clear that you are bold enough to face the people you are leading, to ask them, gentlemen and ladies, how am I faring? And you can do that, periodically. First, it doesn't have to be formal. It can be informal. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, and this is part of the reasons why. Why is it difficult to get feedback? The problem with getting feedback is not that the people don't want to speak, is that the people know that the leader does not take it well. I have, in my experience, been in situations where leaders ask you for feedback and you give the feedback. In fact, in some cases, they didn't even solicit it. But in the spirit of being committed to them, all right, and the organization, you voluntarily offered it. They didn't take it well. I'll share with you an example that, I had a situation in one of my former banks. And the time came, I saw what was going on, and I was concerned. I was so concerned that, I got a few of my friends, about 3 other people to join me for us to do a position paper to the chairman and CEO at the time, and to copy the ED to tell them exactly what we were seeing and what we fear would happen if nothing is done, and what we think should be done. Now, and I told my friends, I said, if we're going to sign the document, it's not an anonymous document. I'm not going to sign any anonymous document. We're going to put our names on it and sign. That is to show that, look, we are not just talking. We know what we are saying, and we know it's a risk, and we're willing to take that risk. Not in our own interest, but in the larger interest of the organization and in the interest of the leader. And so, we went ahead, and I was the leader, of course, and I had a relationship with the chairman. I had access to the chairman, and I went in and I told him and I gave him, our piece. And he said, fantastic. He was excited. I said, they really love that we took that initiative, blah, blah, blah. He was going to look at it, and he will come back, and we said we want to have a meeting with him. That everything that we have written, we can provide justification. So this is not an anonymous thing. We would bring data, facts to justify what we are saying. He appeared. So ultimately one day he said, okay, I should get my friends, we should come. And we had a meeting. We went through the issues one by one. We put all our information down. We mentioned names and stuff like that. But the reaction that followed was not very pleasant at all. So on the one hand, he went through the motions. Okay? On the other hand, he didn't embrace the things that we said, despite the fact that, and I remember this very clearly, at the close of when we were about leaving, he said, he thanked us again. He said, look, I agree with 99% of the things you guys have said, and I'm glad that you even put the facts, and you weren't afraid to bring this forward. He said, "I assure you, I will take steps." The steps he took were contrary to what we present. Now you tell me, the next time, even if he were to make a demand, asking for feedback, what do you think we're going to tell him? You think we're going to tell him what the truth is? No, we're not. Why? Because we don't know the truth, or because we don't want to volunteer, or because we don't want to help him? No. But why? Because he hasn't created the environment. He has not demonstrated to us that that thing will make any meaning. So you ask yourself, what's your environment like? What environment have you created? A leader whose followers are afraid to walk into his or her office because of the way that they will be received, what kind of feedback are you expecting? Because you have already put a wall. Your people are walking with you under fear, trepidation. What kind of feedback are you going to get? In the times past when they gave the feedback, and this need not be official. I'm not talking of unofficial feedback is the most effective because it's not documented. Because people feel rather safer. And the best of unofficial feedback that you would get it based on the kind of relationship you have built with your people and the kind of environment that you have put in place. One that elicits, not the one that when they say it, then you mark the person down. Not the one that when they say it, the next time they are hearing all that they told you from some other people. Not the one that when they say it, then they go to a meeting, they are sitting down there, and you are using what they are saying, in a cheeky manner. And everybody knows that obviously there is somebody within the group there that you are making reference to. In fact, some who can be so matured, because they were really hurt by what they had, they couldn't handle it, that they can even mention the names at those kinds of meetings. Do you think that that kind of person will offer any credible, feedback later, whether formal or informal? Certainly not. Certainly not. It is so. Those, even if you say they shouldn't put their name, let it be anonymous, they will not. Why? Because we have also seen environments where you say don't put your name, but we had to write things, and the bosses go to the extent of knowing who wrote what because they know our handwriting now. And that's not the problem. The problem is that because they got to know what we said, they reacted to it. They used it in one way or the other against us. That's not the spirit behind feedback. That's not. Because feedback is not, feedback is a gift, like somebody said, that you were offered. Nobody is obliged to give you feedback. If they gave you feedback, you should cherish it. But one thing that people don't understand with feedback is that you don't have to take it. Why? It is the view of somebody. Does it mean that it's correct? No. But should you ignore it? No. So what do? You are supposed to look at it as objectively as you can. Take what is relevant, leave what is irrelevant. So if people can learn what feedback is about and can create the environment, they will elicit feedback, quality feedback cheaply. And they need to get to the point where they ask for it, not because of themselves, but because of the people they are asking from. What do I mean? I'm trying to pass a gift across to my people. They stand to benefit from me. And I'm asking them to tell me something about myself. It is to help me to be able to successfully pass that gift. So, and it can truly help me. So, who am I, who is fooling who if I choose to ignore what they are saying? The second part of it, which I think you will get there if you're not there yet, is that, look, if the people don't know me, if they never get to the point where they truly know me, assuming I know myself enough, how can they appreciate it when I have transferred what I have to them? How will they appraise the progress if they are getting anything from our interaction? Our interaction is not just about making profit or getting customers. No. And a lot of that I also deal with. But part of our interaction is, what have you collected from me in terms of my strong points, in terms of what I bring to the table. It can be the way I approach issues. It can be the way I think. It can be the way I speak. It can be the way I solve problems. These are the things. So it is important that I get feedback, because it empowers me to be more effective, and it positions you as the one following me to understand when you are gaining something and what exactly you are gaining. And to raise issues, in fact, if you are not seeing the promise I made to you, happen, being delivered in your own life and situation. So these are pretty, deep stuff. And there is nothing, I believe, just like Jesus did. Jesus wasn't saying, I am this, I am that, because he wanted to impress anybody. No. Remember that he got to a point, he said, look, I am this, I am the living bread. The people say, this man, what you are declaring is too hard. Who can handle all of this? He said, does this offend you? Because I'm telling you the truth. I won't change from telling you the truth. That's who I am. You haven't come to that understanding yet, but that's okay. But I will not change who I am, even if you think that I'm boasting. But he then turned to another set of people who had worked with him, closer, who had worked with him perhaps longer than this other set. And he said, okay, gentlemen, was how you want to follow them too, because those ones said, okay, we won't follow you again. And he said, do you want to follow them? Because, like I said, leadership is mandatory. Following is what do you call it now? Is optional. To lead is a must. You have a job to do if you are embrace that relation. Responsibility. But that somebody will follow you, there is nothing mandatory about it. Why? Because the choice is theirs. What you have to do is to ensure that you convince them to follow. Because you need them to be in that place for your work to be done. And the reasons and the details surrounding that you will meet, as you go on. So he said to those guys, do you want to go? Those guys said no. We know why we are here. He said, where else are we going to go, sir? He said, because you have exactly what we need. What did he say? He said, you have the words of eternal life. What was the man telling them? He said, I'm the bread of life. These words that I'm speaking, you better listen to them and collect them from me, because they are the instrument that will get the job done. You have to believe that. You have to believe that. So you can see, he declared it. And there was a time he looked at them and asked, gentlemen, who do you say that I am? Because he wanted to know, this person you are following, have you come to the place where that I am, you have an understanding of it? Because until you have that understanding, this journey can be very fruitful. And then one of them said, yes, I can speak on behalf of my colleagues. He said, you are Christ, the Son of the living God. I said, blessed are you, Peter. You are blessed. Once you have that encounter, we are set. You are set for the transfer that's going to take place. You know exactly what you are in this thing for. But they didn't get there in one day. So that your identity, as important as it is not going to be known in one day. But it must be known. And you need to repeatedly, ask. But create the environment where you will get credible response. That's what he did. Nobody was afraid. People are not afraid. His people were not afraid to tell him. In fact, you may remember that did Peter not pull him aside one time to scold him? I mean, you pull your boss aside and say, stop that. Don't say that again. How can you be saying that? You are going nowhere. Who can do that to any leader today? Can somebody do that to you? If just to provoke ourselves, how will you react? All right? But yes, he looked at him and rebuked him and told him, will you, stop that. But the fact that the follower had the audacity to pull him aside should tell us something about the kind of environment that he created. The worst that he would say when they express themselves as freely as they had the opportunity to is that, look, you don't know enough. That's what is worrying you. You don't know enough. Let me tell you what's going on. And he would explain. And that's another thing about feedback. When your people give it, they don't know as much as you know. They are in transition. They are the ones that are going to benefit from you, primarily in that relationship. So be patient to explain what they may not understand. When I give feedback, that's how I'm seeing things. From where I stand, I have told you what I saw. And I'm not claiming to be right. Nobody should give feedback and think they are right. But if you give me feedback, I will tell you that, oh, okay, that's the way you see it. Okay, let me explain. Perhaps this is what I didn't do. Perhaps this is what, but this is why I did this. This is why I did this. You'll be surprised. The same people who had said, who had given you feedback that you didn't like, that would have upset you, are now saying, oh, I didn't see it that way. This was what I saw. Okay, so that's fine. So what you got upset about, was nothing. Was nothing. Yet you got upset, you didn't say anything, you started reacting, and you are now complaining, how will I get feedback from my people? When you are the one that created the problem. So it's good to ask as well. Look at them eyeball to eyeball. Let them talk to you. But please make the environment, encouraging for them to volunteer. Of course, some people don't know how to speak. That's part of why they are your followers. You help them. You teach them language, how to communicate. All right? Whatever feedback, And there will be some people who don't like you. and they take the opportunity of feedback just to say all the bad things they didn't have the opportunity of saying before. You have to also, as a leader, know who is who. There's some feedback you take and you smile. Why? Because you know where the person is coming from and you don't expect anything less. All right? But there are some, you take them, you must take them very seriously and do something about them. Okay? So this is, how I would, and then let me add, you see, one of the mistakes that leaders make when they lead a team, when you have many people who report to you, is that they look at their leadership as a relationship between themselves and their team. Whereas leadership is a one to one relationship. You need to know that you are leader not just of the team, but you are leader to each follower on a one on one basis. When you respect that, and that is part of the way you approach, the assignment, your feedback will rely on the one-to-one connection, not on the team connection. Okay? So yes, because the team connection, everybody's watching the other. And I don't want to be the one to say something that others are not saying. But when we're dealing, because of the kind of relationship that I have with you, there are things I may not say in the team, but I will say to you one to one. And I have done that very well, over my years. There are things I look at my MD and I say one to one. I won't say it in a group, but he gets it from me raw when we are one to one. Why? Because of the kind of relationship that we have. Okay? And of course, if he hadn't given me that kind of opportunity, then he will not get it. What he will get, will be different. So I don't know, Dolapo, whether that has been helpful to you.
Very helpful, sir. Very helpful.
Okay, I see Osaritin asked a question here. Sorry that we'll round up now. Is it true that one will not make great leader if one is not interested in social media? That's clearly not true. What has social media got to do with leadership in its very, in its very core form? However, what I would say is that yes, there is this place for the leader to, the leader is a learner. All right, and the leader needs to continue to learn so that the leader can be relevant to his contemporary situation. And that's where the knowledge of social media, and stuff is important. But the quality of your leadership has little to do with your knowledge or otherwise, of social media. Of course, it can make you more effective because you know what's going on, and that's just as general as saying that the more you know, the more effective you become as a leader. But if you did, you would understand that more. If you are able, if you get on the program, by the time you are done, you will easily know, what the whole leadership thing is about, and how little social media is as something to take note of, even within a program that is called the Smart Leader Program. Okay. All right. So, do we have any other questions? Okay, sorry, Dolapo, I wanted to say that some of your guys, I think one person was having a challenge um, that I had to start her up all over again.
Oh, really?
I think it was
Okay.
Allow Me or so, because she was
Okay.
saying she wasn't receiving the
The emails.
videos. Yeah,
Oh,
so
really?
in fact, I did promise her I was going to call to speak to her, but before I after I sent that email, I then
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, I took her out of, the system, and then
Yes.
introduced her again so that the
Okay.
sequence can start afresh.
All right.
So I don't know how that's been.
I'll follow up. I'll follow up with you.
I haven't the Chido, is it Chidozie or so?
Okay.
I haven't heard from him at all. I wonder
Oh, it's
what
Chidozie who hasn't registered. Okay. All
no,
right. I'll
no,
follow up with him.
Chidozie has registered now. He
Mm-hmm.
registered quite late,
Okay.
but you know, I I mean, I haven't seen any assignment from him. For
From him.
example,
Okay. I'll follow up with him.
he
Okay.
hasn't, no submission. But I think
Okay.
Anne has
She's
been very
been
much
she's
on.
been communicating.
Oh, she's
Great.
on top of her game. She's
Great. Great.
she's a frontliner in terms of those responses.
Great.
Um, yeah. So the others as well. I think Olaomi maybe is because she hasn't been getting the stuff. I
Okay.
think there are two others. I'm not sure also if I have seen, anything. But I thought to mention that I would just have related with them directly. But
All right, sir.
given the given the kind of issues you have raised during this session, I think they ought to know, that is not is more
Mm.
is not piece of cake, or maybe what I will say, you know, I hope I'm not sounding anyhow. What they are missing by not,
Why not?
applying
No, no, no worries. I
themselves.
will. I will check back. I'll check.
Okay.
I'll check. I'll do a check with them because this. I think this is my first Q&A proper.
Yeah,
Since we started. So, and it's been so useful. So I
I'm
will.
glad.
I will definitely communicate. I'll definitely
Great.
communicate.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Day 20 is tomorrow. For those who have got into that level, is getting closer and closer to the end. But the closer it gets, the deeper we are going, and the greater the revelation. But thank you for your feedback. I'm glad also, that it's been a worthwhile time. We're getting the rhythm, of this. So that's why we've stayed a bit longer. We didn't start early enough as well. Um, and also, I'd like to encourage us. Please feel free to share, uh, the links with your friends, with your colleagues, if this uh, has been valuable to you. Let's get as many people as possible to attend. I think we all agree that the problem we are having today in Nigeria and all across the world is a leadership problem, pure and simple. so, um, so once again, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.
Good night, sir. Thank you.